Right. Good evening, everybody. Hope this is working. If you can hear me, let me know in the comments. If you can't, also let me know in the comments. A strange one. We're going to do the Leeds review live, which we don't normally do. We normally bundle it in with everything else that we do with the news. So it's interesting to try and see how this goes live and what you guys think and where we go from here with this. So if you are watching this, let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts on the weekend. Let me know how you felt the game went, mistakes that we made. I've watched it back a couple of times and mixed thoughts. I have mixed thoughts and a slightly different reaction than I had the actual past. Just to start us off, I suppose we'll just get into the chat and see who's floating around. I'll check my volume levels actually while I'm doing this. I haven't done a live stream in so long. Proper live stream in so long. Yeah, we're good. So a couple of things. John in chat, so disappointed we got nothing after scoring 3 great goals. Yeah, we'll get to that. It's a good point. Dow, video Alex and Jared Blood past 24 hours, or any indication this is going to be explosive? No, it's not. I'm pretty calm about this, actually. I don't get the overreaction to get usual stuff. And Smudge, delighted to talk to you, Smudge. Great to see you, mate. How you doing? So Inky, even how you doing? Cool. So we'll crack on. There's a couple people floating around. So let's just get into this. So we'll start off, and I think the main talking points of this are the VAR stuff, and I wanted to kind of start with that and talk about this, whether you call it top 6 bias, and it's not an excuse. I don't want to make excuses. We conceded 4 bad goals, and we'll get to them as well in a second. But the reaction needs to be measured here, so I'll try and keep it measured with VAR as well. My personal belief on VAR is I don't see the point in it anymore. I think it's wrecking the game. I think it's confusing the game. The referee standard has gone down. I think managers and players have commented on the referee standard being poorer as a result of relying on VAR, and it's there to cover them. We had a referee at the weekend with 10 Premier League games under his belt, and he felt brave enough to tell VAR to not check the first Spurs goal that Harry Kane scores at the Meslier is pushed into the back of the net clearly. The second stream that I watched listen to Gary Breen, fellow Irishman, bit of a muppet, if I'm being honest, talk about the keeper being too weak coming for the ball, and it wasn't, just nonsense. Clear foul. Dermot Gallagher, who never agrees with Leeds, said it was a clear foul on Sky Sports today as well. Stephen Warnock, nearly called him Neil. Stephen Warnock also thought it was crazy that it was ruled out. The killer for me is it's the second time this season where there's been a goal scoring situation that VAR haven't even looked at the situation. So when you look at the first goal, it's a clear foul, obvious as hell. Referee has the backup, all the Leeds players surround the referee. He can just say to VAR, just check that. VAR check it. They see it's a foul. They rule out the goal. No goal given. Leaves a 1-0. We move on. Game, it's a completely different game at that point. Second issue with it as well is then the fact that the referee has the balls, essentially, to say, no, we're not going to check it. I saw it. I don't think it's a free kick, which means you're a bad referee because it is a free kick and it's a clear free kick. So that's the first one. That's probably as explosive as it's going to get. I don't get the point of it. So the first goal, and we'll do a summary on this and then we'll get into more detail. The first goal is VAR or referee mistake. Clear as day, right? Second one is it's cleared twice. Christensen does a fantastic job of clearing the first one off the line. Second one comes in, it's blocked off him, hits Meslier, hits him, and then goes in. Desperately unlucky. They're in the right place. There's a bigger issue with with the 3 goals outside the first one. We'll get to that in a second. Third goal, clips Ailing on the way in. Meslier looks like he's going down onto the ball. Clips Ailing, goes the other direction. That's a problem. And then the fourth goal for me is a litany of mistakes made by several players and positional players that I don't think are systematic, that I genuinely think are errors by the players. And we'll get to that in a sec. So we'll take a little break. I'll have a quick look at the chat because I want to try and get you guys involved in this as much as I can. I don't want to be a case of me just talking to the camera for half an hour. We'll have a proper chat back and forth, and I'll get your takes on things as well. So we'll move on. Here we got Mike. How you doing, Mike? Glad to see you, mate. We got Gordon, evening, Jer. Yeah, good. I'm glad. I only do 1 live stream a month, so I'll try and talk slow as well for people. I only do 1 live stream a month usually, so this is that one. Alien Cooper, I'm glad you're calm, Jer. I'm gonna get to them. We're gonna get to them. Not an excuse. It's a fact. VAR bias towards top six. Clear as day. Clear as day. You think about the goal Leeds scored, Bamford scored against Arsenal. Minimal contact on the goalkeeper there. Should never been a goal. No, it shouldn't have been. Stole one. Foul. Correct, Mike. Zach, afternoon, Jer. Afternoon, Zach. How are you doing, mate? Majority of pundits agree it was a foul. If there's a pundit out there who doesn't think it's a foul, he shouldn't be doing his job. I'm sorry. It's that blatant. Diggler, how you doing, mate? How's things? God, there's loads of you here. How's it going? 55 watching. God, that's unusual. This is gonna be. I haven't done. I used to do live streams at work all the time, and I haven't done one like this in a long time. So I'll try and manage it. Clear and obvious foul. It was a clear and obvious error, and that's the whole definition of VAR. Clear and obvious. Now, apparently, the guy who runs VAR in the MLS has been hired to overhaul the system in the Premier League starting next month. A guy called Howard. Howard Webb, Manchester United, be rubbing their hands with that. VAR in the MLS has generally been quite good. VAR, to be fair, in most countries has been really good. I know the Danish model was really good, or the Dutch model, sorry, was very, very good. Slightly thicker lines, which solved the offside issue we saw last year at Bamford. But just not right. Yeah, it should have been automatically. It's not automatically viewed. It's only if the referee says I haven't seen that or check it. So it's a call from the referee usually. Paul, yeah, shocking referee decision. Agree. Clear foul on the keeper. Yeah, we're all in agreement on this. Well, I am happy going to the break. Yeah, Steve wouldn't have given a foul. Gary Breen. Awful one. Was an awful defender as well. Should be said. You know, awful defender equals awful pundit. Definite foul on Melier. Yeah, we're here. Yeah. Switch the guy off a moment. Tim Sherwood celebrating the goal. He stood in that. Yeah, I know. Not great, Jennifer. I thought Nanto was scable. I think Nanto took 3 serious blows, 2 to his head and 1 to his thigh, looked like a dead leg. And I'd be surprised if Nanto didn't go off because of the dead leg. It looked like he was struggling in the second. He was very involved in the first half and then kind of went out of it in the second half of the first half. And I think he was just trying to get to halftime to come off as to not waste the substitution the first half. So what I do think is needed, and again, just as a top line kind of overview, it's just a moment of realism here. And this will stop the panic. We're in our 3rd season, just into our 3rd season back in the Premier League after 16 years out of it. It is going to take time to build up a squad that is capable of maintaining a decent position in this league. We don't have any God-given right to be a top 6 team because we're a big club. We're a single city club. We're a big club. We've got a big history. But right now, we're coming off the back of 16 years of disappointment, mostly. So there's a bit of realism needed here. And the reaction that I keep seeing is sack Marsh, sack Marsh, sack Marsh. I don't think half of these issues are Marsh's. There are a couple of them that are Marsh's problems, and some of them that aren't. And I think there's a balance here needed. Same people that are screaming for Marsh's heads are the same people that are screaming and giving head about Rodrigo. Yet the guy has 9 goals in 13 games this season. This is Rodrigo's first season having a run in the number 9 shirt, and he is scoring pretty much in every game he's played in the 13 games up front. The games where he didn't score, he was playing in the 10, which is similar to last season. So he doesn't need to do much more than score goals, and he's doing that right now. So again, this overreaction thing on the from a certain group of fans. They're also the same group of fans who will just not see any wrong in Liam Cooper at all, and will scream at a camera, where are all the Liam Cooper haters when he scores a goal? He's not supposed to score goals. He's supposed to stop them. That's his job, and he's not very good at the second part. So that's my issue there. So all of these over-the-top reactions are all coming, to me, my opinion personally is, I just come from people who think we should be in a better position than we are. Everyone expected Leeds to finish 18th this season. That was the kind of the look at the table. And currently Leeds are bang on 15th. So we are exactly where we should be for this point of the season. Could we be in a better position? We absolutely could. And we have made some pretty big mistakes this season that have cost us. But again, for me, the bulk of the mistakes that we've made are individual players' errors, which my comment on my news video this morning, which some people don't agree with, and that's fine, by the way. That's okay. Was that we need a new defense. I'm going to start off with the defense and we'll go through it. I thought Melier had an okay game for what he had to do. I wouldn't blame him for any of the goals. I thought he did his best. Christensen, I thought, was having a really good game until probably the last 10 minutes where he started to look a bit leggy. Cooper, I thought, was all over the place. I thought it seemed to me that Liam Cooper was man-marking Harry Kane. And the problem with that is, in the first hour of the game, pretty much, or first half especially, our left-hand side, Spurs' right-hand side was where they were getting all the jive, because what was happening was Harry Kane has a habit of dropping as a 9 into a number 10 position, very deep for number 9. There was one stage in the first half where Kane was pretty much in his own half, and Cooper follows him. And that leaves a huge gap in the middle of the defense. So what has to happen then is Koch has to come across and Strouk has to tuck in, which leaves the fullback completely open. whether that was a decision by Jesse Marsh to say mark Harry Kane, I don't know, or whether Cooper was just following Harry Kane, but he did it for the bulk of the game. And the fourth goal comes from Cooper being out of position, trying to man mark a player. Kane puts the ball in the corner for Kulusevski. As Cooper turns, he's the wrong side of Kulusevski. And that's an issue. Robin Koch also to blame for the fourth goal as well. Koch comes across out of position as well, and a really poor tackle, which leaves them with the goal. So whether that's a positional thing or a systematic thing, I don't know. It could be a system issue. The other problem we have defensively with our back four is we play with wing backs in a back four. Now, what would normally happen last year under the Bielsa model was, as the two fullbacks went forward, the two centre halves would split, and Calvin Phillips would drop in and give us a back three. That gives you the extra cover you need to kind of have a little triangle kind of defense. We don't do that. At several stages this season, and especially in the game against Spurs, both our fullbacks had gone forward. Our two centre halves were left isolated, and our two holding midfielders in Rocket and Adams were very far forward on the edge of the Spurs box as well. So we committed too many bodies forward, which leaves us open to those long balls into the corners. It's pretty obvious. It's a pretty obvious error. But again, whether one of those holding midfielders is supposed to sit, I would have thought they would in that system, but it doesn't appear to be the case. So that's that. The midfield too, I thought were fine. Rocket does an awful lot, but clearly hasn't got a very large engine. So he works his backside off for 60, 70 minutes. And I have no issue with him not finishing the game and going off after 60 minutes. The issue Leeds seemed to have was the midfield change would have been Sam Greenwood for Rocket, but we'd made Sam Greenwood for Gnonto in the first half. And maybe Gelhardt for Gnonto would have been a smarter move at that stage and change the system a little bit. I don't know, but that's the issue there. Tyler Adams was having a very good game up until his very last tackle, which again we'll get to when we go through in more detail. And then up front, I thought Aronson had a really, really good game. Worked his backside off, covers the pitch. Pressing was good. Started to get a bit tired around 75th minute. Was getting a little bit sloppy. Gnonto, as I said, first half of the first half, really good. Thought he was in the game. He has that collision on the sideline where you can see him grab his thigh. And I think he got a dead leg. I don't know for a fact, but I think he got a dead leg. And that kind of took him out of the game a little bit. And then I thought Somerville was doing really well. When the second half, he went out of the game a little bit. I think he might have got a little bit tired, but in the first half, he looked every inch a Premier League player. He looked dangerous. He looked really involved, and he looked really, really good. So, pretty happy with that as well. And for 75 minutes or 70 minutes of the game, at least, we looked okay. First half, the way it broke down, I think Spurs had 70% possession in the first half, which if you go off Leeds' possession stats this season, is a pretty good position for us. Anytime we've had less than 40% possession, we've gone on and won the game. It's the first time we haven't in the first half. Second half, we controlled it for the bulk of it up until the last 10 minutes, which is disappointing, but we'll get to the changes there again. 3 really good goals I thought we scored. I thought we worked them really well. Rodrigo's second goal in particular was a beautiful strike. He did something very similar in the first half and hit the post and was ruled offside, but again, did it again. There's confidence in Rodrigo. He's scoring goals. I don't know how he hasn't made the Spain team. I don't have no idea how he hasn't made the Spain team, considering the goals he's scoring at the moment. He was in the Spain team when he wasn't scoring goals. It's a strange one. But yeah, all in all, I wasn't that wound up. I can understand how people got wound up in the last 10 minutes because you throw away a lead. I get it. But when you watch the game back with a calmer head, I think you start to see the errors are actually more individual errors. So before we go into the kind of the breakdown of the both halves, we're just going to take a check. I'm going to have a quick look at the chat here and just see what everyone's saying, trying to get you guys involved in this a little bit. So got us loads of comments. Right. Shocking ref, great. Yeah, we move past the ref. Here we go. Gordon, a problem with VAR. Yeah, again, another problem with VAR. We all agree on that. Neutral state it fell before the Rodrigo goal swung the game. Yeah. Yeah, he did. I mean, like, a glance to the back of the net, Jody, you would have seen there's 2 players lying on the goalkeeper. Maybe something's wrong here, Clive said our best performance has been against top 4, the so-called top 4. Yeah, I agree with that. And we don't look weak against them at all. We look like a proper team that can compete with those teams. It's the bottom half. Jennifer, we're going to know how good Marsh is in the system. We better cross the board. Yeah, too many passengers. I think the older players are becoming the passengers, if I'm being very honest. Yeah, well, I mean, we picked up 6 points from our last 3 games, which are Liverpool, Spurs, and Bournemouth. I think if someone had said to you before the Liverpool game, would you take 6 points from the next 3 games, you'd have bitten their hand off. So, again, bit of realism needed. Rob, interesting. Mars says the players are still not understanding his tactics, especially out wide in the flanks. Yeah. I don't know if it's the flanks that are the issue. I know he's saying that, but for me, I think it's the center. It's this defense is a problem. It's a real big problem. Should have subbed earlier. Now, about the subs, great point. That's all right. Leave that up there. Great point, Mickey. when I saw Ailing, I didn't see the match live because I was at that wedding in the middle of nowhere in Ireland. But when I saw the change being made with 10 minutes to go, Ailing coming on, I thought he's going to a back three, he's going to tighten the game up and see the game out. I had no problem with that because we have been guilty at times of continuing to bomb forward when we're winning the game and leave ourselves exposed at the back. So like hindsight is easy to look back and go, well, he made a mistake with that change. At the time when he made it, I had no issues with it. I thought that makes sense. It's a decent change. It'll shore the back line up. Whether Luke Ayling is still good enough or at the level to come into a game cold like that and be able to get up to the pace of it at that late stage, it's a question mark. But I don't know if I blame Marsh on that necessarily. Trouble is, but yeah. Well, we know there's a bias there for a long time. 15th plus a game in hand. There you go. All needs to be said. They nailed it on the head. Absolutely crystal clear. Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think I genuinely do think we're a good side. I think we're a decent side with some decent players. And I think that if we get the gaps filled, and I think we've probably got more gaps than we thought we had a little bit. The game in hand is Nottingham Forest, Jennifer. So that's the first one. The Manchester United game is another game, but there was a lot of games called off that week because of the Queen's funeral. So the game we actually have in hand is Nottingham Forest, which should be a win. But again, it's a bottom half team. You don't know how we're going to react to that. Not talking late runners in the box either. If you have a look at the fourth goal, look at where Robin Koch and Liam Cooper end up. They are both, if that's the goal, they're out of position of the goal and they both marked really badly. Both of them. And that's an issue. He had to be better than Koch or Cooper. I thought Robin Koch was having a good game until the 80th minute. I thought he was fine. He did nothing wrong. There was nothing glaring. He obviously covered well his tackling result, except for one incident in the first 2 minutes, I think it was, when him and Melly had a bit of a mix-up and smashed the ball out of play. But yeah, the last 10 were a disaster. If you compare players to other teams, we deserve to go down. If Jesse's positive tactics and energy sees us through, loads of mistakes. I think there's a bit in that, Jody. I think some of the tactics aren't fully fledged yet. Or my take on this is, Jesse Marsh and myself and Alex and Michael have talked about this an awful lot. Does this system have merits in the Premier League? Will it work? And we've seen Ralph Hasenhüttl, another Red Bull manager, plays a similar system being sacked. And what we've seen from Southampton when they played was they could go in runs of wins, but they could also go in runs of heavy defeats as well. So the system is open to that. The issue is here, are the players good enough to play that system? It's the same with the Bielsa model, where the players that we had in the Premier League in the second season capable of continuing to play the way he wanted at the level he needed. And he said it himself, his system had a 4-year plan. And at the end of 4 years, you either change the players to better players or you change the manager. And we didn't have the money to go and change the players. The irony is we changed the manager and then changed the players anyway. So that's the issue. But I think some of it is just down to some players just not being able to adapt to this system. And I blame our defense for an awful lot of stuff this season. Shelley, do you think either the board or 49 will put their hands in their pockets for a few players in January? I think they will. I think there'll be moves in January. I think the 49ers will be involved in this. There's an awful lot of stuff floating around at the moment about the 49ers that gives me the indication that there's something bigger going on than the 2024 deadline. We've been told the funds are in place. So we'll need to see there, but I would be shocked if the 49ers will from speaking to Cam and the guys in the 49ers, I would be shocked if they allow Leeds to go down because it will reduce their investment. Obviously, Leeds will also be cheaper to buy. So it's kind of a split there, but I would be shocked if they want them to go down. My impression is that they want this Leeds team to go on and they want to win things at Leeds. So that would be an interesting one to keep an eye on as well, Jody. Sorry, Shelley. Who have we got now? Phil, I agree with the goals of the weekend more than personal errors. However, I think Marsh needs to adapt the system. Yeah, I agree. Myself and my brother have had this conversation an awful lot. He's a Villa fan. We talk regularly about the different managers and systems. And one of the things that we both talked about was if your players aren't working in your system, then you have to change your system to move the players, to suit the players. Or if you're bringing in players, you either bring in players to suit your system or you change your system to suit the players. The issue Leeds have at the moment is they've replaced half the starting 11 have been replaced with players that can play Jesse Marsh's system. The other half are the older players that are still there from the championship team. And that's not working. Or the first season in the Premiership, that's not really working. And that's the issue you're going to see there. Clive, isn't it as simple as we don't have a natural left back? Yeah, probably is. If we get a natural left back, I think Stroke should replace Cooper. And I think we're better back forward there. But you've got to get a proper left back in. We can't be gambling. Like you look at two left backs that came from Spain. I was going to say Barcelona, but came from Spain. Emerson Royale at Spurs and Junior Firpo at Leeds, and both of them look really poor. Two poor fullbacks. So it's got to be someone who's good. Kai Wagner's been linked an awful lot with Leeds. He's probably the best left back in the MLS at the moment, but is he good enough for the Premier League? I don't know. It took Jack Harrison a couple of years to adapt when he came into the English back to England after being in the States. You look at Almiron at Newcastle. It took him, 3-4 years to adapt to the Premier League. So if we want to get up to speed quicker, it's got to be an English left back or player from within it. But yeah, I agree with you. For an England boy rides out, I think it's going to happen pretty soon. Good evening, Lee. How you doing? Hanging player like Basuma, yeah, it's a workhorse there, isn't it, in the middle of the park? I think you're looking at someone like Mo Kamara as well. I wouldn't be against us going after Mo Kamara in January and trying to be another midfielder in. Could equally argue the game in hand of Forest at home? Yeah, could. Yeah, you could. Can't argue with essential goals. No, good goals. Right, we'll take a break of this in a second. We'll get some detail here. We do. So I'm not reading out all your comments. I'm sorry. I'll get to some of them. I'll try and make it as even as I can. But I think there's a lot of you. There's a lot of people talking, and I don't have anyone else controlling this on my own. So we're moving to talk about the first half. So first half wise, I thought Leeds shape was okay. Spurs had 70% possession, as we said. And I thought overall we were okay. The danger was Kane dropping deep and Cooper falling and was leaving these huge gaps. In the second half, I don't think Kane dropped as deep because they were kind of chasing the game a little bit. He stayed an awful lot higher, which helped Leeds. It was when he started to drop in midfield again, it started to create those gaps, and he started moving across onto to line up with Koch instead of Cooper. I've more detail on the goals. We go through the goals. Outside the first one, we'll ignore that. If you look at the second goal, the ball's cleared twice and then it comes off Meslier, but there's no one on the edge of the box. There's no one on the edge of the box for a clearance. Now, what's happened continuously for Leeds this season, and if you watch it and you'll see it a pattern here, is when teams get to the end line and pull the ball back, there's never a Leeds player marking the 18-yard line or penalty spot. We follow the ball and we get sucked in to the 6-yard line and we leave ourselves empty. Also, what tends to happen is one of the centre halves tends to come outside where the post area is, the line of the post, which is giving gaps in the middle, which shouldn't be there. And if you look at the third goal, again, it's a cutback. There's no one there, and the ball clips off Aiden. But again, there's no one there for Bentancur. There's no one pressing the ball. I think I wrote down the Adams and I can't see me light now in my stats. Where am I here? Yeah, you look at Adams and you look at Aronson, and they're not marking, and it's a clear strike at goal then. And then we look at the forward, and this is where the breakdown for me in the forward goal comes with. The ball coming out from the back. I always like to say, I never blame the goalkeeper or the last player on a goal. I always like to look back 4 or 5 stages to see where could have been prevented earlier on the move. And if you look at from the backline perspective, that goal starts off with the Spurs backline. Somerville presses the centre half and leaves the fullback empty, who he's supposed to be covering. That leaves a pass out from the back. That's mistake number 1. That goes straight to the fullback. That ball then is played inside to Harry Kane. There's no one really. Koch is probably a bit too close to him, and it's a little flicker in the corner. And for some reason, Liam Cooper is in front of Kulusevski and doesn't cover the run around the back. He's in the wrong position. And then what happens is as Kulusevski runs to the end line, Koch and Cooper are both out of position. And then Robin Koch with a really poor tackle. And Cooper in the first half as well was a really poor tackle for the second goal to stop that from going in. Doesn't do well enough. You can't be that weak in a tackle. You really just can't be that weak in a tackle. So that's a problem as well. So these cutbacks are a huge issue for Leeds. That is a system error. And that's something that Jesse Marsh for me needs to look at, that we are ball watching, that as the ball goes, we all move with the ball, hits the end line, there's nowhere else to go. It gets pulled back and we don't get out quick enough, and we're not marking on the edge of the box. And that is causing us problems this year, and has continuously caused problems this year. So that's the issue for me. There's more than one issue. 2 centre-backs are out of the game with 1 pass from Harry Kane, and they shouldn't have been if they had been in the right position. A level of panic kicked in after the third goal. People swiping up balls. Luke Ayling humped the ball out of play from before yards, sliced it out of play as well. There's just a huge amount of panic, and that's just, for me, that's the problem. And if you look across that back line, as I said, Christensen has been getting better and better. He had an assist in the game as well. He's chucking in now with assists. He's got 2 assists, I think, this season, maybe 3 assists this season so far from right back. Problem is, the other 2 centre halves, Koch is okay. He's good. He's probably our best centre half, but he's okay. Cooper's not good enough. He's not. We're 2022 and we're still talking about Liam Cooper playing centre half for Leeds. And I'll balance this out. I know Liam Cooper is a great leader. I know Liam Cooper has a huge impact on those players in that dressing room. Liam Cooper wearing the headphones out with the ball boy, and it's the second time I've seen him do that, is an incredible gesture and an incredible thing to do for somebody with an accessibility need. And I thought that's beautiful. That all of that stuff that he does is great. His off the pitch work is amazing, and his leadership is great. Problem is, we need him to play 90 minutes at a high standard, and I don't think he's capable of it anymore. And I'm sorry to say that. I know people disagree with me, and that's okay. That's your opinion. But I think the more and more you look at it, the more and more you see bad tackling, pulling players down, diving into tackles. Crystal Palace this year caused us a goal. 2 goals, Crystal Palace. Took a player down, then didn't track the runner. Again yesterday, or Saturday, bad tackling edge of the box, out of position for the 4th goal. That's twice. He's not alone. It's not just, I'm not ganging up on Cooper and saying it's just Liam Cooper's fault. He's not on his own. But that has to get better. We need a better centre half. Stroke could be an improvement. I would still like to see us go in and buy a top class centre back. If you're going to spend 20, 25 million on a player, buy a centre half. Stop the goals. Look at what Newcastle did last year when they were in the situation. As soon as the Saudi takeover went through, first thing they went out and did was sign defenders. Trippier, Dan Burn, 2 defenders straight away. And if you look at Newcastle this season, not even a year on from where they were last year, they have the best defensive record in the league. And they're 4th or 2nd or something. They're really high up in the league table. Newcastle are 3rd in the league table. So they started by the back, got their defensive problems. They had attacking players. They knew they had players that could score goals. And they added 1 or 2 to that. And it worked. And Leeds, for me, need to do that. We need a left back, a good left back. And I still think we need a centre half. I've been saying since pre-season that we needed a centre back, and we still haven't got that. And we know we need another striker, because Rodrigo is scoring goals right now, and long may that continue. He's my first choice player on the pitch from a striking perspective, but we need to have a really top striker putting pressure on him. We've got to move past Pat Bamford at stage. Injured again. Having the same issues Adam Forshaw had, and we can't just keep going around the houses with this. You look at the second half, then I thought the shape was really, really good. I thought we controlled the play. I think we had 7 or 8 shots versus Spurs, 1 shot in the second half for a period of time. We looked like we were super in control of the game. And then the issue I wrote down is, are we man-marking or are we not man-marking? Because 1 or 2 players are man-marking, which is causing gaps. The rest don't seem to be man-marking. So that's a problem. If one player runs out of position with a player, that leaves a hole. And if everybody else is moving in the same block with that creates problems and lanes to pass through, which was the issue in the last 10 minutes. We changed our system, and then Spurs also changed their system. That just didn't work. But I don't have an issue with the changes. I really don't have a problem with the changes. I think that it was the right thing to do with 10 minutes to go, was to bring on an extra centre half and just close the game down and shut it up. Unfortunately, it backfired. Unfortunately, one of the goals went in off Luke Ayling's back. That was the change. So that's the issue for me. We'll go back to chat, and then we'll go through the positives and negatives. We won't keep you all too long. Also, just to shout out, because this is nice, but you really don't have to. Smudge, thank you very much. Just 2 from you, and you really don't need to do it, but I really appreciate it. So thank you very much for supporting the channel. But there is no pressure on that. I don't ask for money on the channel. Subscribe. You can subscribe all you want. That would be great, but I'm not going to go after you for money. Some great conversations in chat. I'm going to leave you guys to that. Have a quick look at this one. When Rodrigo was subbed against Arsenal, we dominated Liverpool against Bournemouth. We turned draws into wins and goals, filling our luxury. Yeah, lazy players. There was a lot of lazy players in the last 10 minutes. Or tired players. And one of the stats that I saw in the game was Leeds and Spurs both have outran every single other team in the Premier League this season. So you've got 2 very fit teams. Conte is known for having a fit team. So maybe it's just a simple case as Leeds just came up against a team that are fitter than them. They haven't had that for a lot of times against the bigger 6 this year. Maybe it's something as simple as that. Fellow Melier, 100%. Coos passed his best 2 years ago. I have to agree. I think we started to be panicking if I had support. Yeah, I agree with that as well. What do you think about Hjelde? I think Hjelde's going to be a really good centre half. Now, one of my friends is a really strong, Paul, my best mate, is a really strong Celtic fan, and he'll tell you Leo Hjelde, when he was at Celtic on the right, they thought he was going to be in the first team very early, but struggled with injury problems. Hjelde's had a couple of injury problems at Leeds already, so whether he's the final fit, I don't know yet, but we'll have to wait and see. Name an affordable, realistic centre half target is a really good point. I don't know. I could name. I know we were linked with a centre half from Sociedad, but he looks like he's injury prone, and a couple of journalists have said he's not good enough for the Premier League. We have a scouting department. Apparently, Victor Orta's got a list of players in every single role, so that's a Victor problem that he needs to look at. Personally, I would have liked to got Connor Cody at the start of the year. I think he would have been something more solid with the experience that he has at this level. I'd like to see someone come in from this division. I think Tarkovsky would have been another decent. You wouldn't have got a footballer, but you would have got a defender, and it's a trade-off there, I suppose. He's young, and that's the problem. Grumpy old git. That's a lovely, great name. That's the problem. He's young, and he does shout at them. He does command them. Whether they listen to him or not is a different situation. But he's got years before he even reaches peaks. Most goalkeepers don't peak till they're like 30, he's 21. He's got 9 years before you need to look at that kind of pressure on him. But if you've got an experienced back four and your skippers in that back four, they should be able to organise at this stage, and they're not. We are. So that's a really good point. Thanks for reminding me, Glenn. If you look at the same fixtures this year versus the exact same fixtures last year, we are 3 points better off than we were last year. Now, if you look at the league table at the end of last season, those extra 3 points would have had us 3 or 4 places higher. So it's fine margins, but it's a big deal. All we have to do is to have the same results as last season and better in a handful. That's all we have to do to get 15. It's that simple. And so far, we're 3 points better off. Rodrigo, the younger, physical, dominant number 9, will be so dangerous. Yeah. We had 2 seasons of Rodrigo playing as a 10. Could you imagine if we had him actually as a 9? He had a little run at the back end of his first season. He scored a couple of goals against Burnley. 9 goals in 13 games is a fantastic return, considering we're 15th in the table. That's really, really good. In our possible best 11, if you include all the Jesse signings, we have a goalkeeper, a right back, 2 centre midfielders, a wing, and a attacking centre midfielders. Does that mean we need 2 centre backs, a left back, and a wing back, and a striker? Possibly, yeah. Some of the commentary on Spurs is all we're saying the exact same thing. Conte is really happy with his attacking elements that he's got at Spurs, but he doesn't feel he can play the way he wants to play with the defensive unit that he has at Spurs. So he's even looking at going, I want to play attacking dominant football, but I've got to have a really trustworthy, settled, strong backline. And he doesn't have that either, which is why we scored 3 goals. There's another thing around this as well is at this level in the Premier League, sorry, 1 second. Good evening, Nigel Timms, one of my best mates in the world, by the way, Nigel, and one of my colleagues and work for a very long time. Big love, mate. I did ring you last week. I'm going to ring you again. If you look at the fine margins in the Premier League, this is kind of how I look at it. In the Premier League, there are very few teams who beat other teams with just sheer moments of class. There's usually a mistake, and the better players don't make mistakes. The lesser players make mistakes, which is why lesser teams concede more goals, usually from individual errors. And we have players in our team who are of a lesser quality than the opposition that we play against from time to time, and that causes us to lose games. Also, and again, a reality check on this as well is teams lose games. We lose matches. We've won 2 on the bounce. It's very hard for any team to win 2 on the bounce. A handful of teams win 2 games on the bounce in the Premier League. It's nearly impossible to win 3 on the bounce. Only Man City, I think, have done that this year. So, again, 2 wins out of 3, that's okay. I know the run before was bad, and that's probably put us where we are, but we've got to be realistic about who we are and where we are. Diggle, this is an interesting one because I've coached myself, as I've said before. I've worked with amateur teams on a coaching level, and we've had defensive coaches. We've had coaches that were defensive-minded and would spend time working with the back four. I'm shocked that we don't have a defensive coach. Same thing with the sports psychologist being linked with coming into Leeds as well. I'm genuinely shocked that we didn't already have that in place. I thought that was an automatic thing. You'd have a couple of psychologists in your staff, as every other team does. You'd have defensive coach, attacking coach, set piece coach. A lot of teams have these. The fact that we don't have one, maybe it is. But then you got Mark Jackson there as well. Jacko's a defender, so Jacko, you'd imagine, is working with the defenders. Maybe we need a better one. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's a really good show. Clive, sorry, man. Do we need a goalkeeper to lose it? No, I think a goalkeeper is probably one of the few signs outside of Marsh's signs that's actually working quite well. I think he's a good keeper. Give him time. He's a good keeper. Yeah, we do. We need a player exactly like Adam Forshaw who can come on and hold the middle park, except we don't have Adam Forshaw because he's injured, having the world's longest hernia operation. Yeah, and that's a Mo Kamara possibly as well. That's another midfielder who could come in defensive. But we need to have cover in these positions. It's great that we've got a midfield this year that's not causing us the issues as last year, but we still need to have the, cover for them of the same, if not better standard. If we get 25 points second half of the season, yeah, should be fine. It's like we're not in a bad place. I don't genuinely think that we're in a bad place. I'd like us to be in a higher position in the league. I'd love that, but I think we're probably exactly where we should be. And what you take on Bielsa to come back to Premier League? We'll cover that at the end, Declan, because it's a good question. We'll leave that till the very end if that's okay with you. It's all right. Yeah, I think Joffrey does fit into the system, but I don't think Joffrey's a number 9. I think Joffrey's probably more of a 10. I think he's just struggling to find his identity in this system at the moment. But I think, personally, I'd like to see Aronson playing out right. I think his best game for Leeds was the first half against Crystal Palace when he played out right. And he can make those runs in off the wing and cause problems, get free kicks. Being in the 10, he's crowded out an awful lot more. I think Joffrey is a stronger player in there, could do an awful lot more there. But yeah, Jesmer sends out his team, the players who make mistakes. Cooper is poor. We also need a leader on the pitch. Yeah, I agree, Mick. I agree on that as well. Can't disagree. I agree. Llorente's awful. I've been awful this season. If you take out the individual errors from Firpo, correct? Llorente, Cooper, Roca in 2 games. Individual errors. Take those goals out, we're probably 5-6 points better off than we are. They're individual errors again. Lewis Bate, I think, will be a smashing midfielder to come into Leeds. He's doing okay at Oxford, but he's League 2. He needs to do okay at league at championship level, or and then come back in. He's young. He's still really. He's only just got 20, I think. So loads of time with Lewis Bate. I think he's going to be a smashing player for us as well. I have high hopes for Sean McGurk. I know he's not a defensive midfielder, but I've got high hopes for Sean McGurk as well. Jackson and Tosh were both Premier League defenders, I believe. Correct. But can they defend? Are they defensive-minded coaches? Is a different question. Yeah, we do. Our lads cares about picking up young players and flogging them double cash. But look, there's an element of that. You have to kind of do that to get a model where you can get cash and then buy better players. There's an element of that. And we said last week on the news video, the issue Leeds are having right now is that Radrizzani is the second poorest owner of a Premier League club, which means his capital and what he can put into the club is quite limited. And we saw that this year with zero net spend when he didn't put any of his own personal money into it. And the 49ers are hamstrung because they can only match what Radrizzani puts in. Now, with the Kettler deal they tried to get done in the summer, that was an equity swap. So what 49ers tried to do was, we will give you the money to sign the Kettler, maybe a bullet dodged actually in hindsight, but we'll take that amount off the price of the club when we go to do the takeover. So that was what was planned. Whether there was any deliberately delayed the deal so it wouldn't go through, so he wouldn't have to do that, I don't know. But we need to get an owner in who's worth an awful lot more money. I said last week that I can't remember his name now, Australian guy that's coming into the club. Is one of the richest Australians. I said he was worth 1.6 billion. I was corrected by somebody in Australia who said he's worth actually close to 5 billion. And 49ers are estimated worth, the York family who own the 49ers estimated worth is somewhere in the 6 billion mark. So you're looking at 12 billion. That'll put Leeds in the top 4 or 5 owners rich list kind of thing in the Premier League, which means there's an awful lot more money can come into the club that way from owners' investment as well, and through the sneaky sponsorship backdoor, which we've seen Newcastle do this week with the Fly Saudi deal. And that's a way to get the owners' money in. If the owners sponsor the club, the money can go in that way as much as they want. So that's an interesting one as well. Right, Melier. And he's going to make, Melier's going to make mistakes because he's a young goalkeeper, but he hasn't made that many this season. I think he's got much better than he was last year. This is a good point. I would give Jesse this transfer window, but I think Jesse has to come out of January results. And that's the problem he's got right now. I think we need a bit of settle time, because anyone coming in after Bielsa was cursed pretty much straight away. We need people to come in, just give the time. We're okay. We're in the position we estimated we'd finish this season. So first 14 games, okay. But the club need to then go and fill the gaps. So we'll have to see. Yeah, I think about Joseph on Ferraros earlier on, but again, at the time when you're in that exact moment, you're winning 3-2. And that's why Spurs, like up until the 75th minute, Spurs were out of the game. I thought Leeds were controlling it. So in that moment, you're looking at it going, well, don't change anything. If they don't change things right now, we should be okay. Spurs make a couple of changes. Leeds have to make a change then. And it kind of breaks up and falls apart. But Peter Lowry, thank you very much, Shelley. Peter Lowry is a Leeds fan, which is really important. Having a Leeds fan involved in the ownership of Leeds. And also to clarify, people were asking last week, is it the 49ers or the 49ers Enterprises? The 49ers entity is owned by 49ers Enterprises. So 49ers as a club are owned by the 49ers Enterprises, which is headed up by the York family who own that. It's a separate company in case, if a company ever goes bankrupt, you set a company up separately so your family assets aren't ever taken. It's the club assets that are stripped if they go bankrupt. So that's a slightly different thing. But yeah. Babs. I think they will spend it. I think the 49ers can get in January, or at least get some money into the club in January. I think they will spend it. But it needs to be done. Dave Bowles, come on, you Spurs. Fair enough. Welcome, Dave. Zach Drummond agreed for us signing much more damaging because, yeah, we've been 3 years without a left back essentially. And you go back, Leeds have struggled with left backs for years. For years we have. We do have to buy with financial fair play, but Leeds have zero debt. Leeds have a minimum of a zero net spend this year. So we've got it's over a 3-year cycle. We should have plenty of wiggle room there to go and sign some players for large amounts of money, assuming we can get it in. Yeah, I agree with the better squad. We'll talk about Bielsa in a sec. We'll get to that in a couple of seconds. Can we have 10 billion quid ownership and still overspend? We can. Really, I guess I got that right. Can we have 10 billion quid ownership? We still can't overspend. We can't overspend, but it's the net spend of the club, and currently the club is bringing in a lot of money. So our net spend is, as it was this year, is zero. I think last year's was pretty close to it as well. So I mean, I think you can go like 130 million or something over. I think that's what Leeds is allowed to go over, is like 130 million over that. That's your financial fair play wiggle. I could be wrong on that. But wait and see. Yeah, I agree on that. Right, so I think Cox's been our best centre half so far, Joe. if I'm being honest. And Stroke, I think, has been really good at left back. I thought it was his poorest game against Spurs, but again, I think the man marking of Harry Kane caused that problem. I think if we weren't man marking Harry Kane, we just had a block of 4 there, I think it would have been okay. And sometimes I think we're better off with our fullbacks not getting forward. I think Christensen's best defensive game this year was when against Arsenal, when he just stayed back, or against Palace in the first half. He just stayed back and was outstanding. So I don't know. It's hard to play wing backs in a 4-man back line and not cause yourself problems. No, we don't have a left back in the 21s or the 18s, Jason. You're dead right. Also, Keenan Carroll, Adam Pope told us this. Keenan Carroll is being changed from a winger to a fullback, in which Seb, his former Leeds player, and his dad is not happy with and has expressed his unhappiness to the club. So that's going to be one to keep an eye on as well. But we don't have a left back anywhere. And we're looking at a couple apparently underage as well. Who do you buy? 40 million is not a lot. I think you get a striker and maybe a left back for that. And you probably get a half decent one for that. I think you're looking at probably spending 20, 30 million on a striker, and then you're probably looking at spending another 20 million on a left back. So you wouldn't have a lot of change out of 40 million. But I would go with a striker starting off with getting another striker in, and I get a centre back and a left back. I think you have to buy 3. I think we can't leave a gap. The problem last season was we left gaps. So saw a report saying that Marshall was Kai Wagner. He does, yeah. His quality. Here's the thing: the MLS is getting better. The standard is getting better. The American players coming out there are getting better. You can see that. America ranked very highly in the world rankings as an international side. Kai Wagner is expected to go to Europe and is expected to do good things in Europe. German clubs are keeping an eye on him as well. He is the left back in the overall 11 top 11 of the MLS this season, and played in the MLS Cup final. So his quality there. Is he good enough to play in the Premier League? I would be on the fence with Orta on this one as well. One of the few things I would agree with Victor Orta on, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that. Too many focus on defenders in January. We can see sloppy goals. Yeah, big thing here is Leeds are scoring goals. We have no problem scoring goals outside of a couple of games in that middle block of 8 games where we didn't win. Outside of that, we've been creating a lot of chances, and we're now getting a rhythm of scoring a lot of goals in games, like 7 goals in the last 2 games. So it's the other side of the pitch for me. If we can close that door, I mean, if you're scoring 3 goals in a game, you should be winning the game. It's that simple, but we're not keeping the back door closed. But Liam Cooper will score a header after January, and people will scream at me that Liam Cooper is still God and should be idolized forever until he's 50. We disagree. Guerrero, yeah, and Leeds are looking very heavily at Guerrero. Tone, thanks for reminding me. He's at Borussia Dortmund, and Leeds are looking, but again, that's 30 million. I think they're looking at for him, but he's out of contract at the end of the year. Do Leeds do what Leeds do and wait till the end of the year until he's out of contract? I don't know. I'm still not 100% sure Leif Davis, is probably the best fit there. He had his little preseason. I don't think he did particularly well there. Not badly, but didn't stand out as a quality left back or better than Firpo. And he's winning a lot of Player of the Month competitions because they're open votes, and Leeds fans like to have an open vote. And I voted for him a couple of times. So, that's an issue there as well. Yeah. We're messing around with our system a little bit too much, I think, in different areas. There's an interesting thing here. Drama going to Dortmund, Newcastle. I don't know why we haven't just tried him on the left. Or Lee put Luke Ayling on the left back position because he's played there before and he's okay at left back, and have Christensen and Drama on the right. I don't know why we haven't done that, but we've played centre half there instead. I'd be shocked if he leaves. Currently, I'd be shocked if he leaves. I think Dan James is potentially finished at a lot of clubs. I know he scored a goal against Manchester United, but he's struggling to get game time at full. And he came off the bench against Man United. Sorry, I get given out if I say United on its own. There's 40 million clubs called United, but I get given out if I say United on its own. I probably is, unless Jesse Marsh leaves. But I think I wouldn't have let him go, but I think he probably is in the system. Scored a lot of goals, but top poacher. Yeah, I agree with that as well. We missed a lot of simple chances. Rasmus has played in the left. You're correct. I don't know. Just put him on the left then and play Drama on the right. There, problem solved. Drama doesn't leave. Christensen gets his game time. Can still do the things we want to do. 2 fullbacks, more importantly, than a centre half. But credit to Stroke. It could be excellent. Real quick before we get into the Bielsa stuff, real quick, and some of the news bits, we'll fly on through this. Positives and negatives. So we'll start with the negatives. We've had 2 clean sheets all season. That's a big negative, and that's something the Leeds need to work on. And that's, again, defensive issues and individual errors that needs to be fixed. Some of it is system. A lot of it is individual errors and individual players that needs to be fixed. VAR, massive negative from the game because it's probably cost us. In hindsight, it's the first goal, but it still changes the game. That's a problem. Ref having only 10 Premier League games and making some big calls that were wrong in that game and not checking with VAR is a big one for me. And Adam's second yellow. We'll talk about Tyler Adams' second yellow, which is just, I don't like to insult players or get on their back, but for me, what Tyler Adams does for the second yellow card is a moronic decision. It's a clip of the heels. It's a guaranteed yellow. Any point of the game, it's a yellow. Any part of the pitch, it's a yellow. It's a clip of the heels. It's the same as a shirt pull. It's a yellow card. He now misses Man City, which is a problem. That's the level. You can see he was annoyed, but this is the man we're talking about as a future captain Captains don't do that kind of stuff. You got to be smart and sensible, have a grown-up head on your shoulders when you get to those moments in a game. So, we'll have to show that. I don't know if our midfield's too short, but I think there's a height issue there. All right, I would agree with that. We've done to spend and get money covers the wages, and we've no rent to pay. So what happened to sponsorship and TV money? They go into the overall. So the league wage budget's gone up by nearly 100 million. So there's a lot more stuff that goes in the run of the club than just that. And the zero net spends tells you that's what came in and came out on the transfer stuff, but also there's money that the club needs to be run as well. And there's lots of other bits to that and wages for staff as well as just players. So I don't mind that. I don't look at that kind of stuff, but that's where Rad's money needs to come in and cover that stuff so that the money coming in from everywhere else can go on the team. So that's the issue there. We have a small team, but they're fast. Should be straight red. If that was the case, we'd have 4 or 5 players sent off for tackling Aronson in every single game of the season. So Adams said he forgot he was already up. Yeah, fair enough. His reaction would say that, so that's fair, I suppose. Leeds should bring in a specialist backs coach. Yeah, but they're going to have to. They're going to have to. Those George Graham days weren't great days. Let's just remember that. But defensively, we were better. We definitely were. Positives from the game then, and the way I kind of look at it, this is up until the last 10 minutes, we were competing with a team who were in the top 4, have lost very few games this season, even though they got a dodgy defense, have lost very few games this season, and are in the Champions League. And we're all annoyed that we lost away from home to a Champions League team who were 4th in the table. So there's a positive in there that we are competitive with the top sides. And let's be honest here, I love Bielsa, but let's be honest, under Bielsa, we were not competitive against top 6, with the exception of the Man City game away. 1 game. Every other game against top 6, we got battered by teams. Heavy conceding goals, and we haven't fixed that one either. Tony, I think I'm just going to give you my job, mate, because you're 100% right. Martin Terrier at Rennes. Fantastic player. Definitely love to see him at Leeds. Really, really would. The other positives of the game. Rodrigo, form of his life, 9 goals in 13 games and doesn't make the Spain squad. How does that happen? How does he not get into that squad? And I thought the shape at points was good, but at other areas, defensive shape was a problem. That caused us issues as well. So, look, overall, I think we should have won the game. We didn't. But if I look at it, take a step back and look at the 3 games, I think 6 points from those last 3 games, Liverpool, Spurs and Bournemouth, I think I would have taken 4. I think I would have been happy with 4 points beforehand. 6 points coming out of it, that's okay. I know the gap is small. It's like 2 points to the bottom 3. It's very tight in the lower half of the table. It's very high in most of the table. I mean, if we look at this, we'll throw it up here for a quick sec. Present. This is where a second person comes in very handy. That one there. There we go. If we look at the league table, from where we are here now? 15 points. We've got a game in hand, which if you win against Forest, puts you on 18. That puts you into 12 and you're much calmer, very small gap to there, but I mean, there's very few points. There's only like 7. We've got 7 points, 6 points between us and 8 in the table. So I know it's 2 to the bottom, but it's only 8 to the top. So, we're not in the worst place. This 10th to 15th is probably where we think Leeds should be finishing. We're pretty much on course to that. If they can get the January window right and they move early, and this is the big one for me, they got to move early in January. You've got a month off. You've got 7 weeks to go and buy players. Kai Wagner is not going to the World Cup. So if you're going to go and get Kai Wagner, get him. Guerrero might be slightly trickier, but Guerrero will be the personal choice for me. Top player. If you can bring in someone like Martin Terrier, you can bring in a centre back from somewhere. That's better. That's looking more solid. It's looking better. We've got to fill the holes, and we can't do what we did last season and gamble on it. So we'll have to hit it. Smash the like button. Everyone smashes like buttons. You gently tap it as well. I have no problem with people gently tapping it. What is the thing with YouTubers screaming smash and whack the like button? Just tap it quicker. You can do that as well. Shouldn't Terrier sign for Huddersfield? It would be funny. Can we call him a Yorkshire Terrier if he joins for Leeds? Are we allowed to do that? Or is that infringing on their copyright? I don't know. We'll have to wait. I hope there's some way in the right. We were playing, we will be playing over the course of the January window, Leeds United transfer bingo, the Dan James bingo card of all the players who are usually linked with Leeds, and Ryan Kent will definitely be on that list. No doubt. God, no. I'm Irish. A Rangers player joined Leeds. Although when Davy Robertson joined Leeds back in the day, I was quite happy with that. I liked him. He was a good player. I don't think Ryan Kent's good enough. I don't think he's at the level. I think he's proven in the big games in Scotland and in Europe that he goes missing. I think he's never really stood out against Celtic in the top 2 up there when he's played against them. We need players that are better than that. I don't think he's good enough. I think he was a cheap option at times. I think Bielsa liked bits of him. Our refs held accountable. Apparently, they get demoted to the championship for a game or two, but that's about the extent of it. They still get paid. They still get to go to work. So, that's the problem. I like that. So, right, let's talk about Bielsa real quick, and then we're going to wrap it up for 49 minutes. This is flown by. Thanks to everyone, by the way, who's watching the stream and has joined in, and also we'll do this live. Huge thanks to everyone that's following the channel and subscribing and watching the videos every day. I genuinely didn't think this was something I was going to do long term, but I'm loving it and I'm really enjoying it. And I've stepped away from coaching and managing to do this full time, because not full time, part time with my job, but I like it that much and it's good. I've kind of stepped away from my coaching roles to do this. So, yeah. So thank you, massive thank you, genuinely from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate everyone who's doing this. So, right, let's talk about Bielsa. Let me know in the chat your thoughts on Bielsa. Let's see where we go with this. Personally, I think you got to look at it from this perspective. What is Marcelo Bielsa's mindset towards Leeds? Not what Leeds fans' mindset are towards Bielsa, because they are very separate things. Bielsa's mindset towards Leeds will dictate whether he wants to come back to England or not. He refused a job in Argentina because he couldn't play against a team, his old team in Newell's, whose stadium was named after him. Bielsa won a top title in Argentina. He didn't win a top title in England. He won the championship in England. Bielsa is a very proud man, and he will look at them as very different accomplishments. Yes, he was the man that got Leeds back in the Premier League, and I'm sure he has immense pride from that. But we don't know how those last couple of conversations go. We know Bielsa was incredibly upset leaving Leeds, and we don't really know how he felt about it. So we'll have to see what that goes. That's supposed to say Jer, I'm assuming. Get always happens. Always happens. No problem. Anytime, Mohammed. Anytime. Yeah, well, it's, you guys are investing time in replying to my videos and putting comments on my videos. Of course, I'm going to try and spend some time talking back to you guys. Well, I will say there have been instances where I haven't agreed with somebody in the comments, and that's okay. I keep saying that. There's no tone in my text messages or my comments. It's, if I disagree with you, it's my take. It's if we're sitting down having a pint talking about football and I disagree with you, and I'm never going to fall out with anybody over disagreement. If it gets abusive, that's slightly different. I know a couple of YouTubers at Leeds have said they've been getting abused lately, and there's a bit of it going around. That's a different thing. That's where you cut the line, and any, homophobic, racial, nasty kind of insult stuff on players or managers or anything. Sorry. And if you use the term yank to talk about Jesse, I'm taking that as an insult. I have American family and they don't like that term. So, yeah, that's that way. Anyway, see you, Clive. Thanks very much, mate. Happy for the candy stripes. Yeah, I don't have a problem. Bournemouth, they're not a club that I want players sent back to Europe. Yeah, I agree with that as well. Yeah, I'm start naming things after him. What was it? 5,000 Leeds fans sent him thank you messages. Yeah, and a couple went over to him as well. So it was great. My dog's trying to get involved here. Hey, Murph. We need to get better defenders. Usually better defenders, I think. This is my dog, by the way. She's trying to come in here for a second. Come up. Come on, jump. No, change your mind. She's having you on now instead. Oh, I appreciate that, Gary. Thank you very much. It's a lovely comment. I really appreciate that. The Bielsa thing for me is simple. If he had a negative conversation, as much as sacking is always negative, but if he had a bad conversation, if it was an argument or huge disagreements, then he might not really care that much for Leeds. He might have a place in his heart for the players and the fans, but he might not care about the club as an entity. And going to Bournemouth might not bother him at all. He might just go, yeah, fine. The question mark is, do Bournemouth have better players than Leeds? The league table would suggest slightly. And the other thing with Bielsa taking over Bournemouth is every manager in the league pretty much clued into Bielsa's system on the second season with Leeds, and we know Bielsa won't change that system. So we know when he comes into the Premier League to manage Bournemouth, it's going to be a man-marking system, which we know how to break. Centre half comes out with the ball, breaks it up completely. So do they have better players? Bielsa did say, and we said it earlier on this stream, you either replace the manager or you replace the players with better quality players. Can he get a tune in the small gap that he'll have between now and the World Cup? I don't know. He did it for Leeds in the first season. We'll have to wait and see. Where am I looking at here? Derry, you Egypt. I'm missing a comment there, am I? Personally, Bielsa is nostalgic for Leeds. Fans love him. Yeah, I think it's one way. I think it might be one way. And again, you can't blame him for that, because if his boss has sacked him, if he's got a bad relationship with Radrizzani. And the other thing taken into consideration is Leeds wrote to Bielsa to ask him could they name the training ground after him. And he still hasn't replied to that. For ghosting a club, then clearly there's no positive sentiment towards that club. So I think he would probably come back to England pretty quickly. Yeah, I think if Bielsa goes to a top club, he wins a league title. I think with better players, his system works. Same with Marsh's system. I think with better players, you probably get more out of it. I think you see it in Germany, that system works quite well because the players are better at a higher standard over there and in the league that they're in. I think it works. I think you get found out when players switch off. And as I said, weaker players make more mistakes. So that's the problem there. Fullbacks never wear behind them. They're too high. They're usually too high. They're usually way up the pitch. And again, this is the issue. If both your fullbacks go up the pitch and you leave your two centre halves here, they have to split, and one of the defensive midfielders has to come in and drop and give you a 3. That way, if the ball's played into the corner, one of them steps across and clears it. You've got that extra cover. We don't do that. Both our defensive midfielders go forward and attack as 8s, which is, again, it's a big problem. Hub team scouts at the World Cup. I think we might be looking at players outside the World Cup, if I'm being honest, and get them done quick and early. Let's build an Odeshore, resilient, spiky defense, frustrating opponents. Yeah, wind the clock down. We have to do the kill games. We can't just keep outscoring teams. We can't. That only has so many miles on the clock before it runs out pretty quickly. I'm glad we got Bielsa first. Magic days. Yeah, we'll always be his first in England, won't we? And you never forget your first. Small quad doesn't work in the Premier League. It won't. No, Bielsa will be as good in the Premier League. Bournemouth could back him heavily in January as well. That's the other thing. I can't take top managing. No. I don't know, Rob. I really don't know. I think he's not working. He wants to work. Maybe he's got unfinished business in the Premier League. Maybe he's looked at every Bournemouth game for the last 2-3 years. He's making a decision. Bournemouth have said they had positive conversations with him over the weekend and are positive about getting him moved on. Even when we got him, we weren't 100% positive that we were going to get him until we got him. And will they go with a 1-year rolling contract and the issues that come with Bielsa and delaying contracts and not signing a deal until everything is in place that he's asked for? We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. I would be good to see him managing Bournemouth, to be honest. I would be good to see him come back to the Premier League. I wish Leeds had just given him better players and let him do what he did at a higher level with the next set of players. But I'm not 100% sure that we wouldn't have gone down. I thought he would have fixed it. I really did think I didn't want him to go, and I thought he would have fixed it, but wait and see. What was Bielsa's best finish in the table with his previous clubs? Can't remember. I think he got Bilbao into Champions League, didn't he? Pretty good finish. Hasn't won many trophies though. That's the thing with him. Worked well for Brazil for long. Yes, Brazil had lots of really great players though. Lots of really great players. No defenders, but really, really good players. Yeah. The ultimate average players and the great players. He does that, but he does it for a short amount of time. Our great players became very average players again last season, so it has a shelf life. And again, he said that himself. It has a shelf life. You've got to at some stage upgrade them. Can't keep getting 110% out of players who can't give it all the time at that level. It will stop. Saying about defensive midfielders like in attack times, Adams doesn't want to step forward the ball, but he always seems to find himself in around the edge of the box when we're attacking. He's Rocket there, him here, and they're pretty high up, and that leaves that gap. So, that's the situation. I will leave you here because we're nearly at an hour. What I will say is, don't do enough live streams. I do one a month usually. Daily Leeds videos if you want to catch them. I'll keep trying to do them. I'll miss the odd one. There's stuff going on weekends now, so I'm getting taken away. But again, just a massive thanks to everyone. Don't be too gloomy about this. We're 15th in the table. Let's hope we get January right and we push on. We've got the game in hand, which could put us up to 10th, 12th in the table. It's not that bad. Let's just take a step back, look at the whole thing holistically and make a decision on it. But I think there are areas that we have to improve on. We know what those areas are. Jesse asked for a striker in summer. He didn't get it. He was very vocal about a striker. Maybe he'll get one he's after now in January. We'll have to wait and see. I think the next couple of weeks might get a little quiet. The plan for the break is a week off. Then they've got a week of personal plans on their own at home. So essentially 2 weeks off work. Then they come back in. They've got measurements in Thorpe Arch. They've got preseason training. And then they've got a list of what Jesse Marsh has described as competitive behind closed doors. So competitive teams behind closed doors friendlies. And then they've sauced that in December as the last game before we kickstart into the Man City game on 28th. So we'll see. But Adams will be a big miss for that game against Man City. Maybe we'll go out and sign a defensive midfielder. We are selling Adam Forshaw in January. He's in the transfer list. So someone has to replace that player to be the cover there as well. We have to wait and see. Guys, folks, ladies, gentlemen, everybody, people, thank you very, very much for popping in. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to let you go now, and I will see you back here tomorrow with some Leeds news, assuming there's any. I'll see you then. See you. Bye.